Hello dear friends, myself Dr. K.N. Gaikwad, Department of Botany, KTHM College, Nasik. We have started embryology under the paper Developmental of Botany. And today we have to study how fertilization takes place in flower. Now, name of the topic is fertilization. Now student, before starting fertilization, let us see first of all pollination. Pollination is the process of transfer of pollen grains from an anther to the stigma of flower. The pollen may be transferred from anthers to stigma of the same flower or different flowers. That means self-pollination or cross-pollination. There are so many factors responsible for the pollination. For example, wind, water, insects, birds, etc. Anemophily, hydrophily, zoophily, entomophily, keratophily, etc. You are studied in SYBSc. After pollination, pollen grains are comes in contact to the stigma of same flower or different flower, and then fertilization becomes start. Now let us see what is the fertilization. Fertilization in angiosperm start with compatible type of pollen reaching to the pistil and concludes with the fusion of male and female gametes. And this process is carried on in embryo sac. Embryo sac is nothing but the female gametophyte. We have seen how embryo sac develops in last lecture. Thus, we can define the fertilization: fusion of haploid sperm nucleus and haploid egg nucleus that results into the formation of diploid zygote. In angiosperm, one sperm fuses with egg, that is called syngamy, to form a diploid zygote, while other sperm fuses with secondary nucleus, that is called triple fusion. Result of double fertilization is the triple fusion. This is formed due to secondary nucleus fusion and one of the sperm fused together forming the triploid structure, and hence in angiosperm there is a formation of endosperm nucleus. This phenomenon is called double fertilization. Now, pollen tube growth and its path. There are two mechanisms: adhesion and hydration. Adhesion of pollen grain on the stigma and hydration are the basic requirements for pollen germination. Now let us see first of all adhesion. This is the first step of pollen germination. After pollination, pollen cell surface and extracellular matrix of the stigma play an important role in mediating pollen adhesion. The pollen coat occurs leading to mixing of lipids and proteins to form a foot of contact on stigma surface. Stigma is nothing but the portion, knob-like portion present on gynoecium on which pollen grain become land. That stigma become exudate of stigmatic surface contain wide range of protein and enzymes. This is the secretion by the stigma, and that becomes stimulate the growth of pollen adhesion. Now next step is the hydration. It is prerequisite for pollen activation and germination. It is highly regulated the adhesion of the and hydration of pollen grain. In the plant with wet stigma, for example tobacco, the exudate released by secretory zone of the stigma, and that promotes the pollen hydration and germination. Hydration of pollen triggers physiological activation of pollen cytoplasm. Now see, this is the diagram of early events during pollen germination and pollen tube growth on the stigmatic papillae. Now in this diagram, these are the four papillae are there. First papilla, second papilla, third papilla and fourth papilla. And this is the stigmatic surface. In this first figure, first papilla, an oval desiccated pollen adhering to the stigmatic papillae. Second papilla, a spherical hydrated pollen has formed a coat foot. These coat foot are developed due to the adhesion and hydration of pollen grain to the stigmatic end of the papilla. Third diagram, a hydrated pollen has to start germination, and in fourth figure, pollen tube has grows toward the tide. This is the pollen grain and this is the pollen tube, and this pollen tube finally comes in contact with the style and reaches to the embryo sac. Now let us see what are the requirements. Environmental factors or some nutrient elements are required for the pollen germination. Uptake of water leads to swelling of the grains and their activation. Then second requirement, carbohydrate. For the germination of pollen in nutrient medium, sugar is always necessary. Pollen of many species would burst when placed in water. Addition of definite amount of the sugar limits the diffusion rate of water into pollen and thus prevent the bursting of pollen grain. The amount of sucrose required for germination of 3-cell pollen is generally much higher than that of 2-cell pollen. According to one of the embryologists, Iwanami, in 1959, the time taken between imbibition and tube initiation depends on the kind of sugar present in the pollen grain at the time of seeding. Second requirement, nutrient element boron. Among inorganic substances, boron in the form of boric acid or borate has most dramatic effect on pollen germination and pollen tube formation. Pollen of most species are deficient in boron content in nature. This deficiency is made up by comparatively high levels of boron in the stigma and the style. Next one, nutrient element required for the pollen germination, that is called calcium. There is a sufficient evidence to suggest that calcium plays an important role in pollen germination and tube growth. Lack of calcium in the culture medium or naturally results in morphological abnormalities of pollen germination, such as coiling and swelling of the tube. Next requirement, flavonols. Virtually all pollen accumulate flavonols, often to very high levels. These aromatic compounds, which are derived from the anther tapetum and play important role in pollen germination and pollen growth. There are also many physiological factors, for example, temperature, humidity, high radio humidity are basic requirements for pollen germination. Temperature is the most important factor for the growth of pollen tube. The growth rate is appreciably enhanced with an increase in temperature. The optimum temperature required is 20 to 30 degrees Celsius. One of the embryologists, Stato, in 1998 found that incubation of Brassica rapa is the name of the plant, pollen under 60% relative humidity is required for 6 hours. In this way, we have seen that all these requirements are required for the pollen tube growth and pollen tube formation. Now let us see, this is the pollen tube growth. Hydration and tube emergence activates and swelling of pollen grain. Now in this diagram, this is the egg zyme which is rupture here and in time develop the pollen tube which goes in hollow style of gynoecium. Hydration causes activation and swelling of pollen grains and pollen tube develops carrying almost the entire content of the pollen grain. Whatever may be entire content present here, it goes in the pollen tube, including 2 sperm and 1 vegetative nucleus. Generally, pollen tube grows out of the aperture. Every pollen grain has a small pore that is called aperture, but in some species it breaks directly through the egg zyme wall. For example, rye and eucalyptus tube emerges strictly at the aperture by rupturing the pollenillin. However, when pollen has 3 distinct aperture, pollen tubes often breaks directly through interaperture egg zyme wall, precisely at the site of contact with the stigma surface, and the pollen grains from monocots characteristically have a single aperture, or that is also called germ pore, and in time egg zyme become rupture at the germ pore and develop the pollen tube. At the tip of pollen tube, we get the cap block, empty space is there, and these are the 2 sperms. Normally, one pollen grain develops only one pollen tube, but sometimes polycyponous grains more than one tube may emerge from the grain, up to 10 pollen tubes. Although some abnormalities are also developed in some cases. Rapid growth of pollen tube is restricted to the tip region. To restrict the cytoplasm to the apical region of growing pollen tube, a series of callus plugs are formed. Now these are the callus plugs. They are formed at regular distances. Now see in this diagram, they are the callus formed, and that restrict the germination of pollen tube. The plugs are originated as a ring on the inner side of the wall. Now let us see how pollen tubes are enter in the embryo sac. After germination of pollen grain, it comes in contact with the embryo sac. These are the structure of embryo sac. Typical embryo sac are ovule, shows the funiculus, chalaza, nucellus, micropyle, and this is the female gametophyte. It is called embryo sac. Typical embryo sac shows this is the egg apparatus. This egg apparatus which shows the hanging portion of 2 synergids, and toward the upper side there is an attachment of the egg cell. This is called female gamete. At the center of embryo sac there are 2 polar nucleus are there, and these are 3 antipodal cells. Now pollen tube enter the ovule by 3 different mechanisms. They are called porogamy, chalazogamy, and mesogamy. Now let us see first of all porogamy. When pollen tubes enters the ovule through micropyle, it is called chalazogamy. Sorry, porogamy. Now in this second diagram there is chalazogamy. Now this is the pollen tube. This pollen tube enters to the chalaza. This part is nothing but the chalaza, and with the integuments it comes in contact with the micropyle. Then third one, mesogamy. In mesogamy, the pollen tube enters to the integument, and through the inner integument it comes in contact with the egg nucleus. In this way, in angiosperm plant, the pollen tubes enters in different ways: by micropyle end, by chalazal end, and by integument. Now after pollen tube enters, there are so many changes takes place inside the embryo sac. Out of 2 sperm in every pollen grain, 1 pollen grain become fused to the egg nucleus. That mechanism is called syngamy. After fusion of syngamy, or after fusion of male and female nucleus, there are so many changes takes place. They are called post-pollination changes in embryo sac. The egg apparatus which contain the synergies, they disappear, degenerate after fusion. But in some cases, when pollen tube enters into the embryo sac, immediately the synergies become degenerates. But in some plant, only one synergid become degenerate and only another one become persistent. Syngamy means fusion of male and female nucleus that results into the formation of zygote. Now let us see what is the actual mechanism takes place. When male gametes are discharged inside the embryo sac, they have a distinct cytoplasmic sheath. However, it was assumed to be only male nuclei with the cytoplasmic sheath. 2 male gametes were found to be unequal in size. One of the embryologists, Finn, 1928, suggested that it is difficult to understand whether the smaller gametes fuse with egg or larger gamete fuse with egg. Some studied of male gametes of Chordospermum and reported that male gametes fusing with eggs has a blunt posterior end and circular or pointed anterior end. When male gametes come in contact with the female nucleus or female gamete, it appears like a thread rolled into a ball. Male gamete later uncoils and lies on the surface of the egg nucleus. The male gamete gradually unites with egg completely. Once the egg enters the egg, the chromatin material of male gamete start degenerating. Simultaneously, the nucleus of male gamete begins to appear. Slowly, this nucleolus enlarges in size and the chromatin material slowly become porous, while chromatin material of egg nucleus become distinct. And finally, the nucleus of male and female gametes comes together and fuses. The second male gametes combined with secondary nucleus. That mechanism is called double fertilization. The result of male and female nucleus is nothing but the zygote. And another sperm, out of 2 sperm, 1 sperm fuses with secondary nucleus. Secondary nucleus is already diploid due to the fusion of 2 polar nuclei. In double fertilization, the nucleus of 1 sperm fuses with the egg nucleus and second nucleus fuses with the secondary nucleus. In most of the plant, this secondary nucleus possesses two polar nuclei. Further, the second fertilization involves the fusion of three nuclei. And that's why this mechanism is also called triple fusion. In some plants, the secondary nucleus may possess 1, 3, 4 or many nuclei. In tetrasporic embryo sacs, after fusion of one of male gamete and egg nucleus, one male gamete is still present. The remaining male gamete fuses with the secondary nucleus. The secondary nucleus is already diploid because it is for migration of one nucleus from upper side and other nucleus from lower side of embryo sac. Both these nuclei are initially haploid and have migrated from polar region. Hence, they are called polar nuclei. These two haploid polar nuclei, after germination, to the center of embryo sac, fuses together and thus become diploid. This diploid structure is called secondary nucleus. One male gamete is haploid and the secondary nucleus is diploid. And the fusion of male gamete and secondary nucleus n plus 2n form triploid structure. Hence, this mechanism is called triple fusion. This triple fusion results in the formation of an endosperm. And in all angiospermic plant, the endosperm is the nutritive in function. It provides nutrition to the embryo during the early stages of development, that is from zygote to globular embryo. Now let us see what are the significance of double fertilization or triple fusion. Double fertilization plays a significant role in the formation of seed in the angiospermic plant. This process results into production of zygote and primary endosperm nucleus. The primary or the nutritive tissue, the endosperm, is formed after the fertilization of polar nuclei. Double fertilization process plays a significant role in the formation of seed in angiospermic plants. The endosperm form due to double fertilization and hence it is triploid. Therefore, it is metabolically very active and reserve more nutrient to supply nourishment for the further development of embryo. Double fertilization prevents the unnecessary waste of energy by the plants. This endosperm provides nourishment to the developing embryo as well as serve as reserve food for maintenance of embryo during resting period or dormancy period, as well as it provides nourishment to germinating embryo. Hence, double fertilization has a great significance in inducing and establishing seed habit in the plants. This is the significance of double fertilization or triple fusion. Now, next point is that some abnormalities are there during fertilization. They are nothing but the polyspermy and persistent branched pollen tube. Now let's see first of all polyspermy. Normally, an embryo sac receives only two sperms from pollen tube. Many pollen tubes emerge from the transmitting tract and migrates on the septa, but only once of them approaches the ovule. Occasionally, multiple pollen tubes approach an ovule, especially at the typical region. Polyspermy means release of more than two sperm in an embryo sac. And heterofertilization, that is sperms involved in syngamy and triple fusions, are derived from different pollen tubes. pollen tube repulsion seems to occur only after pollen tube growth. Arrest in synergetic cells. That means in this polyspermy, many sperms enter into the embryo sac from many pollen tubes. This is one of the abnormality during fertilization. Second abnormality is nothing persistent and branched pollen grain. Now see the diagram. This is the pollen grain. Rupture exine in time develop the branched pollen grain. Pollen tubes are there. In angiosperms, pollen tube is normally an unbranched structure which collapses soon after fertilization. Some reports have, however, claimed that rarely the pollen tube may persist for long as 3 weeks, and reported that in spinach, 10 to 12% of pollen tubes branches in styler regions and near micropyle region, and the tube grows like a fungal mycelium. This structure is similar to the fungal mycelium, producing Hasteria-like structure which penetrate into the integument and other ovular tissues and ascribe them pastoral function. One of the embryologists, Williams, re-investigation of pollen growth in spinach and confirmed that branching of pollen tube mainly in the micropyle region. According to this scientist, the branching of pollen tubes is a post-fertilization phenomenon and the branches do not penetrate in the integument of other tissues. The tubes simply ramify between the nucellus and the surrounding cells. Now these are some diagrams of double fertilization. Now see, this is the structure of the ovule, this is the embryo sac, and these are the two polar nuclei. This is the female gamete and these are the male gametes. Out of 2 sperm, black color are the sperms, and they reaches here in the embryo sac in B diagram. In C diagram, you can observe here, out of 2 sperm, 1 sperm become fused to the egg nucleus, and that results into the syngamy, and final product is nothing but the zygote. And out of 2 sperm, 1 sperm become fused to the secondary nucleus, that results into the formation of endosperm, and that endosperm become triploid. Now finally, these are some exercises, some questions are there on this topic. Define pollination and fertilization. Pollination is nothing but the transfer of pollen grains with many factors, insect, water, wind, on the stigma of same flower or another flower. That is called tail pollination or cross pollination. Fertilization is nothing but the fusion of male and female nucleus. That means nucleus of sperm and nucleus of egg. This is the definition of pollination and fertilization. Second question, describe the entry of pollen tube. Third, explain the factors for germination of pollen grain. Then you have to describe here what is double fertilization and triple fusion. Then fifth question is explain significance of double fertilization. And last question, broad question is there, explain the mechanism of fertilization. You have to solve all these questions. Thanks.